So, Luke, Milan losing 2-1 at the hands of Cremonese. I think I'm going to start off by how did Allegri get it so badly wrong? Because on the flip side, you have to hand it to Davide Nicola and what he achieved with that squad. They played really well, I thought. But yeah, Allegri, a lot of shouts about the choices in particular, maybe the formation. Where do you think it went wrong for Allegri?
I think he started the midfield wrong, to be quite honest with you. For some strange reason, and I've tried to figure this out and asked a couple of sort of Milanistas, but why is Samuel Ricci started every preseason game pretty much and played very well. Clearly was going to be what was supposed to be their starting midfielder alongside Modric potentially, and then we come to the first game of the season against Cremonese and it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Fofana and Modric. And you kind of look at it and go, so why has Allegri put so much effort into Samuel Ricci in the starting 11 at the pre-season to then first game of the season just bench him? That's where I think he failed. I think starting that midfield, and Modric obviously is fine in that three. I think he played all right considering. But it's Loftus-Cheek and Fofana alongside. I just think that was the wrong approach. I think Ricci should have started. And I think there's bigger problems at Milan. I think it came out today that Allegri isn't happy with the transfer policy. He's not getting what he wants. He's not getting listened to. I think he said if he was being listened to by the higher-ups at Milan, that Dusan Vlahovic would already be a Milan player, for example. They need centre-half recruitment. Pavlovic looked terrible until his goal. I just think it's a bigger problem than just Allegri starting 11, but I do think some blame lands at his feet, i.e. Ricci not starting, for example. And I think the Leao injury didn't happen, but it's Cremonese at the end of the day. No disrespect to them, everyone's tipped it. The majority of Serie A fans have tipped them to go back down, regardless of if survival expert David Nicola is in charge. But I just think there's no excuses for Leao being injured. But yeah, not starting Ricci, is a mistake, I think. And I think that proved it at the weekend.
I think the kind of telltale sign for me as well, when I sat back kind of taking the game in, was the kind of style of football. It kind of didn't feel like Allegri football. Looking at stats, 64% ball possession now. I appreciate it is Cremonese. They're going to potentially park the bus and maybe counter-attack. But I thought that was quite an interesting kind of thing to watch on, especially as I'm kind of used to Allegri giving the opponents more of the ball and really being more aggressive on the counter-attack itself. So I don't know if that's due to players like Luka Modric, for example, being more kind of ball orientated and dictating the tempo. But certainly that was something that felt like it was a bit uncomfortable for some of the Milan players. As you allude to, Allegri has kind of initiated that he still needs at least two centre-backs, also a striker. And obviously Victor Boniface was kind of the talked about target that was going to be signed. Unfortunately, it's now since transpired that they've decided against it, which leaves them in a bit of a precarious position, especially with Vlahovic scoring for Juventus, which is probably going to add a few more million signs to his fee eventually. But if we talk kind of briefly on Cremonese and those goals in particular, our favourite farmer, Federico Basciorito, scoring a fantastic header. But it's fair to say that defending was terrible. In particular, you've highlighted Pavlovic, who kind of went walkies for that. But yeah, that Herculean kind of celebration really stood off, didn't it? That was a fantastic vibe.
Yeah, I love Basciorito, I think. And it's the goal, the celebration, and then also the back heel in the second goal as well, which is just, it just looked so clunky, but it was brilliant. Big fan. I think Cremonese, credit where it's due. I think they got probably, if you look at it, got their game plan right at the end of the day. Yeah. That's probably went to exactly how they wanted it. Obviously, Bonazzoli's goal is a bit of an outlier when it's a bicycle kick as it is, but I think the plan probably would have been to sort of soak that up and hit them on like they did. There's obviously, you said there, Allegri's team, Milan had 64% possession, and that shows that Cremonese's plan was to soak that up and hit them where it hurts, and they've done that. And I think Milan, they've lost Malik Thiaw, which I think, yes, he was in and out of the team last season, but I think that's a loss. And yes, they've got 40 million euros for him, which is probably more than he's worth, but I think it's a loss in that centre back. Pavlovic, he wasn't very good last season either, and to not address that again is a bit of negligence from the club. it's proven again against Cremonese when he's gone walkabouts for their goal. And yeah, I don't really care for him if he scored or not, but I think, yeah, to not address them problems at the back and then to get found out by the likes of Cremonese, who are hotly tipped to go down, yeah, it just shows there's major cracks in that Milan setup and needs addressed before the end of the window. And it depends on what they can do, given the restraints of Italian football that we have. They can't go out and spend the money that they need to spend, probably. But they need to do something to tie that up, because you look at the options as well. Tomori coming in, if he wants to come in, like, it's still not a step up, really. You've got a back, you've got a defence there that hasn't really got a standout player in it that can sort of steady it up, pretty much.
Yeah. No, you're right to allude to that kind of transfer strategy. I think that's going to be an interesting thing for all Italian clubs, not exclusive to Milan, for sure. I was kind of surprised maybe we didn't see Coni De Vinter maybe make a debut in this particular match, given also the relationship that Allegri has with him from his previous outing with Juventus. So, yeah, I'm sure it's food for thought. But I also want to kind of highlight from a Cremonese point of view was I thought the fullbacks in Pezzella as well as Zerbin were really critical to the way that they kind of went about their attacks. In particular, Zerbin, I've been one of those that appreciates him. I know he's kind of stigmatized as being maybe not a good quality Serie A player, but certainly on occasions he shows that little dash of quality, and certainly in this game, in particular, setting up that winner for that fantastic overhead kick, which I didn't expect to see. Bonazzoli, what a hit. He's only scored 6 goals last season, but he's already goal of the season contender with that hit as well.
Yeah, first weekend, and it's goal of the season contender and the story's brilliant as well. I think an Inter youth product released, comes back to San Siro to score against Milan for Cremonese's first win over Milan at San Siro as well. So yeah, it's a brilliant story, first weekend. And yeah, I think, as you said there, Zerbin, I think if you can bring more of them flashes of quality and have them more consistent throughout the season, I think Nicola's going to rely on that. And I think that whilst he was at Lecce, of course, last season, but that leadership and that experience with Basquiatto as well for Cremonese is going to be key for them staying up as well. Obviously, Lecce stayed up by the skin of their teeth last year, so Basquiatto knows exactly what it's about. I think them two will sort of be key in Cremonese's season for sure, especially if Nicola can get the most out of Zerbin.
Before we kind of leave this area, I want to kind of touch on 2 more points. We'll start off with Cremonese. I know you've kind of done stuff on your socials about predicting where you think teams are going to kind of be placed by the end of it. Where do you fancy Cremonese to finish based on this result? Because it feels like there's a bit more confidence going into the season after that.
So I didn't expect Cremonese at all. Like, you don't, obviously it's a big upset to Milan, but I didn't expect them to come out and be as impressive as they were. And obviously you've got survival expert Nicola in charge. I put them down in my initial predictions. I think it was 20th or 19th to go straight back down. I just didn't see them surviving. I think after the first few games I ripped up my entire predictions, to be quite honest with you. Well, I'm going to stick with them and see how it goes. It's a long season, but when you look at it on paper, you're going, maybe I need to have a rethink. But look, it's an interesting relegation battle. You've got Cremonese in there, Pisa in there. You've got Lecce, who are seemingly desperate to go down. Verona are going to be in there. It's a tough one. I think Cremonese do have a really strong chance. And you look at them at the weekend, and I think if they carry on sort of performance to that level, I think there's no reason why they can't survive. It's tough to call, but I definitely think there's at least 5 or 6 teams involved. So if Cremonese can keep up this progress and this form and perform to that level consistently, then I don't see why they couldn't stay up, to be quite honest with you. Especially if you look at the promoted teams from this weekend, which we'll get onto a couple of them, I'm sure. But Pisa drawing at Atlanta, and then Cremonese winning at the Miazza. But then you got Sassuolo, who literally, Napoli didn't get out second yet. I'm sure we'll get on to Napoli in a bit. But you look at the promoted teams there, and you go, and Sassuolo maybe from the first weekend looks like the ones that are going to be in the most danger, which you didn't expect at the start of the season. I had Sassuolo potentially staying up, I think, on the top of my head, trying to remember my predictions. But Sassuolo seemed to be the one that everyone would say would stay up. But when you look at it from the weekend's results, Cremonese are the ones that everyone will now potentially are going to change their predictions to be like, okay, maybe Cremonese have a bit more than everyone thought, which is interesting. It makes for a much better relegation race when you have Cremonese coming into it. I feel like you get some teams that come into it and you go, oh, they're just going to get battered every week. But if Cremonese are going to start causing upsets like that, then you're in for a much, much more exciting relegation battle.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I'll also allude to Adero's performance in goal as well. He made some big saves, and I think that is quite critical. I think his experience is just what they need going into the season, that's for sure. In terms of Milan then as well, do you see many positives to be brought out of this performance? I thought there was a few performances that were maybe good, but there's a lot to be built on in terms of that team performance. I thought the likes of Salamekas looked lively. Modric, as we've already touched on, Estepanan, I thought was an upgrade from a wing-back position as well. But the likes of Pulisic, I think, was quite disappointing as well. Maybe not really seeing much of the ball. I mean, is there something that Allegri can build on from what you saw?
I think there's definitely things to build on. I think a lot of people have tipped Milan to actually challenge for the Scudetto. I've not, but a lot of people have. And then playing one game a week, it goes back to what Napoli were doing last year. They were playing one game a week. And whilst it was under Conte and Allegri, two different coaches, but like two different styles, two different levels. I think Conte is obviously a level above Allegri in terms of coaching personally. But playing one game a week is going to favour them. They're going to keep Leao. They've made some decent signings. I think Richie's a great signing, personally. I just think, whilst it's a massive upset and whilst we're really impressed with Cremonese, I think it's the first game of the season. If you remember back to last season, Napoli got beat 3-0 off Verona and you thought, oh God, here we go. Conte is going to implode and leave after game week 2. Like, whilst it's amazing that Cremonese have done what they've done and it's highlighted some cracks in what Milan have done, I think I don't think we need to go all a bit mad and say Milan are going to finish 10th again or whatever. I think Allegri's a good coach, and I think he'll see the cracks and he'll push for what he wants in the signings, and hopefully he gets what he wants and we can see a Milan team that actually compete. But yeah, I think the one game a week's going to favour them. I definitely think there's positives. I think Leao coming back from injury is key. Richie actually playing, learning off Modric. I think there's your elements there that you can build on. And then he's just getting more out of Pulisic, more out of the defence where he can. Yeah. You said earlier it didn't look like an Allegri side. Maybe he reverts back and goes back to his boring. I had them down. In terms of fantasy and Serie A and Fantacalcio drafts, I wanted Milan players in my defence because I was thinking Allegri's just going to shore up, close up shop and hit the 1-0s with the counter attacks with the likes of Leao and Pulisic and stuff like that. Maybe he reverts back to that and goes back to his roots instead of trying to control a game. Maybe controlling the game possession-wise isn't an Allegri process and he doesn't like it. Maybe that's why it looks so uncomfortable. But yeah, I think we need to probably say Milan have some problems they need to sort out, but it is first game of the season. So I think give them some time and we might see a bit of an improvement.
Fingers crossed for the Milanistas, because I'm sure no one wants to see Allegri's full Monty audition on the sidelines, that's for